The clinking of fine crystal and the heavy scent of roasted rosemary fill the dining room. Around the mahogany table sit the extended family, dressed in cashmere and quiet luxury. At the head of the table sits Harold, 58, sporting a gold Rolex and an air of absolute authority. Beside him is Eleanor, 56, adjusting her pearls with practiced elegance. At the far end sits Leo, 28, wearing a slightly faded blazer. He stares at his plate. The silence around him is loud. Harold, taking a slow sip of Cabernet. It's about asset allocation, Richard. You don't wait for the market to correct, you force the correction. That's how we secured the cabin in Aspen. Uncle Richard, laughing, raising his glass. To forcing the correction, Harold, magnificent. SOPHA. Leo's sister, smiling warmly. And our new place in Tribeca is finally finished. We're having the kitchen remodeled with Calicut marble. It's breathtaking. Eleanor, beaming at Sophia. Oh darling, you deserve nothing less. A proper home for a proper family. Eleanor's eyes drift down the long table. Her smile fades, turning into a thin, pinched line as her gaze lands on Leo. Eleanor sighs softly, loud enough for the table to hear. If only everyone in this family understood the value of stability. The table falls quiet, the clinking of silverware stops. Leo doesn't look up, but his shoulders tense. Leo, quietly. The market is just tight right now, Mom. The seed round is closing in January. I just needed a place to crash for 3 weeks while the lease transition goes through. I'm not asking for a handout. Harold, slamming his glass down. 3 weeks, it's always 3 weeks, Leo, or 3 months, or another groundbreaking software update that's going to change the world. Leo, the beta testing is at 98% user retention. Harold, cutting him off sharply. I don't care about percentages of nothing. At your age, I owned a firm, I own this house. Do you know what you are to us, Leo, honestly? Leo looks up, his eyes locking onto his father's cold, judgmental stare. Leo, what am I, Dad? Harold, you are a burden, a financial and emotional drain. We spent 22 years funding your life, and now we have to watch you beg for a spare bedroom at Thanksgiving because you can't pay rent on a basic apartment. It's embarrassing. Eleanor, nodding, looking away. It's true, Leo, we've done our part. We want to enjoy our retirement without worrying about when you're going to fall back on our safety net. You're holding us back. The rest of the family looks down at their plates. Sophia suddenly finds her napkin fascinating. Nobody speaks. Leo stares at his parents. The hurt in his eyes slowly hardens, crystallizing into something cold, sharp, and absolute. He stands up, pushing his chair back. The screech of the wood against the floor cuts through the room. Leo, voice dead calm. You won't have to worry about your safety net anymore. He walks out of the dining room. Heavy rain beats against the windshield of a beat-up sedan. Inside, Leo sits in the dark, staring at the warm, glowing windows of his parents' massive colonial estate. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a sleek black key card, the key to his tiny, shared hacker house workspace in the city. He turns the ignition. He doesn't look back in the rearview mirror. A cramped, windowless room lit only by the harsh blue glow of 3 massive monitors. Whiteboards cover the walls, scribbled with dense code, system architectures, and mathematical algorithms. Leo sits at his desk. His eyes are bloodshot, dark circles heavy beneath them. Empty coffee cups and energy drink cans litter the floor. He hits a key. A progress bar on the screen reaches 100%. System deployment successful. Active users 1,200,000 plus. Leo's phone buzzes. He answers it on the first ring. Leo? Voice raspy. Leo here. MARCUSVO. Through phone, breathless. Leo, it's Marcus. They accepted the terms. The acquisition is finalized. Tech Corp is buying the proprietary database engine. Leo sits back in his chair. He doesn't blink. Leo? What's the final valuation? MARCUSVO. 12 million upfront, 4 million in stock options vesting over 2 years. Leo, you're a multimillionaire, you won. Leo looks at the screen. He doesn't smile. He doesn't celebrate. He looks at a framed photo on his desk, the only photo he kept. It's him at age 10 holding a trophy while his parents stand far in the background looking at their phones. Leo, quietly. We're just getting started, Marcus. I need you to set up a blind trust. Name it Apex Holdings LLC. MARCUSVO. Sure, what are we buying? Leo, a house, but we're going to wait for the right moment. A sleek, glass-walled conference room overlooking the city skyline. Marcus, a sharp-dressed real estate attorney, slides a thick manila folder across the table to Leo, who is now wearing a tailored dark charcoal suit. Marcus. You were right, the market took a massive dive, and your father's investment portfolio was heavily leveraged in commercial real estate. He lost almost everything in the Q1 crash. Leo, in the house. Marcus. Opening the folder. They took out a massive second mortgage to cover his firm's losses. They're defaulting, Leo. The bank was preparing to quiet-list the property next week to avoid a public foreclosure auction. They're desperate. Leo flips through the financial statements. He sees his father's signature shaky, desperate on the loan documents. Leo, what's the payoff amount? Marcus. 1.8 million. If we make an all-cash offer through Apex Holdings today, the bank will bypass the listing entirely. Your parents won't even know who bought it until the deed transfers. Leo closes the folder with a soft, decisive snap. Leo, buy it under one condition. Marcus. What's that? Leo, we draft a lease agreement immediately. The grand living room of the colonial house. The furniture is still beautiful, but the air feels heavy, dusty, and abandoned. Harold sits on the sofa, his head in his hands. He looks 10 years older, the Rolex is gone from his wrist. Eleanor sits beside him, staring blankly at the fireplace. Eleanor. Voice trembling. Where will we go, Harold? We have 30 days. The bank said there's nothing we can do. Harold, muffled. I don't know, Eleanor, the market. I didn't think it could collapse like that. The doorbell rings, the sound echoes sharply through the empty house. Eleanor slowly rises and walks to the foyer. She opens the heavy oak door. Standing on the porch, silhouetted against the bright afternoon sun, is Leo. He looks immaculate, calm, unfazed. Eleanor. Gasping, her hand flying to her mouth. Leo, what are you doing here? Harold. Walking up behind her, his voice defensive but weak. Leo, if you came here to ask for money again, you picked the worst possible time. We're in a transition phase. Leo steps past them into the foyer without waiting to be invited. He looks around the high ceilings, the custom molding, the memories of a childhood spent trying to be enough. Leo, I'm not here to ask for money, Dad. Harold steps forward, his old anger flaring up like a dying ember. Harold, then why are you here, to gloat, to watch us pack? Leo reaches into his breast pocket. He pulls out a crisp, heavy paper document inside a sleek leather folder. He holds it out to his father. Leo, I bought the house. The room goes dead silent. The wind rustles the trees outside. Harold, stammering. What are you talking about? The bank sold it to a private trust, Apex Holdings. Leo, I am Apex Holdings. Harold's face drains of all color. He looks at the document in Leo's hand, then up at his son's face, searching for a joke, a lie, anything. But he finds only absolute, unwavering certainty. Leo, I paid off the bank in full this morning. The deed is in my name. I own the roof over your head. Eleanor stumbles back slightly, grasping the banister for support. Eleanor, whispering, How is this possible? Leo, calmly, because while you were busy calling me a burden, my database engine was being integrated into the largest logistics platform in North America. He opens the leather folder, revealing a document with bold letters at the top, Residential Lease Agreement. Leo, I'm not going to kick you out. I'm a better businessman than that. This is a standard lease. You can stay. Harold stares at the paper, his hands trembling as he takes it. Harold, the rent, how much? Leo, with a faint, icy smile. Market rate plus a 10% premium for my trouble. And Dad, no extensions, no safety nets, if you're late by even a single day. Leo steps closer, looking directly into his father's eyes. Leo, I will evict you. After all, I can't afford to harbor any financial burdens. The ink on the signatures of the lease agreement is barely dry when Leo steps back into the crisp morning air, leaving his parents standing in the cavernous foyer of the house they no longer own. Through the glass panels of the front door, he can see Harold staring down at the pages in his hands, as if trying to decipher a foreign language, his posture entirely collapsed. For the first time in his life, Leo doesn't feel the heavy, suffocating weight of their disapproval. He feels nothing but the smooth, cold clarity of total control. He climbs into the back of a waiting black town car. Marcus is in the passenger seat, tapping away on a tablet. Marcus. Without looking up. It's official, the county recorder just processed the deed transfer. You are officially the landlord of 1442 Rolling Hills Drive. How did they take it? Leo. They took it because they didn't have a choice. What's the status on the commercial portfolio? MARCUS. Turning around, leaning over the seat. That's where things get interesting. Your father's primary company, Vanguard Realty Partners, isn't just suffering from the market dip. They backed a major commercial strip development downtown with personal guarantees. Now that the anchor tenants are pulling out, the lenders are moving in. If he can't liquidate his remaining personal assets by the end of the quarter, Vanguard goes into receivership. Leo? Which means he'll be scrambling for cash to pay the first month's rent. MARCUS. Exactly, he's going to try to sell whatever he has left, the Aspen cabin, his remaining stock equity, maybe even Alina's jewelry. He'll do anything to keep the firm alive. Do you want me to block his liquidation routes? Leo? No, let him sell. In fact, find out who's buying the Aspen property. If it's going to an open auction, I want Apex Holdings to bid on it. I want everything they used to define their worth. Inside the colonial house, the silence is heavier than it has ever been. Harold sits at his heavy mahogany desk, the one piece of furniture he insisted on keeping pristine. The residential lease agreement sits dead center on the blotter. Alina paces the length of the Persian rug, her fingers nervously twisting her diamond rings. Eleanor. We can't stay here under his thumb, Harold, it's humiliating. Did you see the way he looked at us, like we were strangers, like we were tenants? Harold. Voice hollow, eyes bloodshot. We are asterisk tenants, Alina, look at the numbers. If we break this lease, we have to pay a 3-month penalty. We don't have the cash for a deposit on a place that matches, well, anything close to what we need. Every line of credit I have is frozen. Eleanor. But he's our son. Surely if you just talk to him man-to-man, explain the situation with Vanguard. Harold. Slamming his hand on the desk, a weak echo of his former authority. Talk to him, did you hear him? He used my exact words against me, he called us a burden. I built an entire career on reading people, Alina, and when I looked into Leo's eyes today, there was nothing there. No anger, no sadness, just arithmetic. He's running a calculation on us. Eleanor. Stopping her pacing, her voice dropping to a whisper. Then what do we do? Harold. We pay the rent. We sell the Aspen cabin to cover the first 6 months, we stabilize the firm's debt, and we buy ourselves enough time to find a way out from under his heel. I won't let a 28-year-old kid ruin 40 years of my legacy. 3 weeks later, a high-end boutique coffee shop in the city's financial district. Sophia sits across from Leo, her fingers nervously tracing the rim of her oat milk latte. She looks at her brother taking in the tailored suit, the quiet confidence radiating from him, the absolute lack of the anxious energy he used to carry. Sophia. I didn't believe it when Mom called me crying. I thought she was exaggerating, but then Dad confirmed it. Leo, you actually bought their house. Leo? Taking a slow sip of black coffee. The bank was going to foreclose, Sophia. I protected an asset. Sophia. Don't talk like a press release, Leo. It's me. You didn't just protect an asset, you put them on a lease. You charged them a premium. Dad is selling his life's work just to make sure he doesn't default on his own son. Don't you think this is a bit extreme? Leo? Extreme. Leo sets his cup down with absolute precision. The clink of the porcelain against the marble table is sharp. Leo? When I sat at that Thanksgiving table 7 months ago, I didn't ask them for $1 million. I asked them for 3 weeks in my childhood bedroom so I wouldn't have to sleep on the floor of a hacker house while my database engine was completing its final compile. Do you remember what Dad said? Sophia. Looking down. He was stressed about the market, Leo. He shouldn't have said it, but... Leo? He called me an embarrassment. He said I was holding them back from enjoying their retirement. Mom agreed with him. You sat right next to me and looked at your napkin. Nobody said a word. Sophia. I didn't know what to do. I was caught in the middle. Leo? There is no middle anymore, Sophia. There's just the landlord and the tenant. They wanted me off their safety net. I took myself off it. Now they're on mine. Sophia. Voice trembling. Are you going to do this to me too? My husband and I. Our Tribeca remodel is draining us, and if Dad's firm goes under, our investments with him go with it. Leo? Looking at her calmly. Are you paying your bills on time, Sophia? Sophia. Yes, of course. Leo? Then you have nothing to worry about from me, but if you're asking for a handout on their behalf, the answer is no. Tell Dad the first wire transfer is due on the 1st of the month by 5:00 p.m. Not 5:01. The 1st of the month arrives. A torrential downpour slickens the streets of the city. Inside the sleek, minimalist headquarters of Apex Holdings, Leo stands by the floor-to-ceiling windows, watching the rain strike the glass. On his desk, an iPad displays the incoming wire transfer portal for the trust. It is 4:45 p.m. Marcus steps into the office holding a tablet. Marcus. The wire hasn't hit yet. I called Vanguard's accounting department. Apparently the sale of the Aspen cabin hit a snag in escrow. The buyer's funds are delayed by 48 hours. Leo. So my father doesn't have the liquidity. Marcus. Not in the primary account. He's trying to clear a personal check from his secondary credit line, but it takes 3 business days to clear. He's going to miss the deadline, Leo. Leo. Prepare the notice. Marcus. Hesitating. The late fee notice or the cure or quit eviction notice. Legally, we have to give them 3 days to cure the default before we file with the court, but we can issue the formal warning the minute the clock strikes 5. Leo. Issue the formal warning at 5:01 p.m. Send it via certified courier directly to the house. I want it delivered tonight. Marcus. Nodding slowly. Understood. At exactly 5:00 p.m. the iPad screen remains blank. No transfer from Harold or Leaner Vance. Leo looks at the clock. A cold, quiet satisfaction settles deep in his chest. It isn't a feeling of joy, it's the feeling of a machine working exactly as it was designed to. At 7:30 p.m., the headlights of a courier motorcycle cut through the darkness of Rolling Hills Drive. Inside, Harold and Alina are sitting in the kitchen, a single light on over the island. They aren't eating, the room is cold. The doorbell rings, its chime sharp and demanding. Harold goes to the door. When he opens it, a young man in a soaked yellow raincoat hands him a thick, plastic-sealed envelope. Goria, sign here, please, certified delivery from Apex Holdings. Harold signs the digital pad with a numb hand. He closes the door and walks back into the kitchen, ripping the plastic open. Inside is a formal legal document printed on heavy bond paper. The words asterisk notice to cure default or quit premises asterisk are stamped across the top in bold, red ink. Eleanor. Standing up, her voice rising in panic. What is it? Is it from him? Harold. Voice shaking, reading the lines. You are hereby notified that you are in default of your residential lease agreement dated June 12 for failure to pay the agreed-upon rent. You have 72 hours to deliver the full amount plus a $500 late fee, or eviction proceedings will commence immediately. Eleanor. Tears spilling over her cheeks. 72 hours, it's been 2.5 hours, Harold. He sent a courier in a storm for 2.5 hours. How can he do this to his own flesh and blood? Before Harold can answer, his phone rings on the counter. The caller ID shows an unknown private number. Harold snatches it up, his old rage breaking through his exhaustion. Harold, shouting into the receiver. Leo, is this a game to you? The escrow on the cabin is delayed 2 days. You know damn well I have the money coming. I've been an honest businessman for 35 years and you treat me like a common deadbeat. Leo VO. Through phone, perfectly level, completely unbothered by the shouting. Good evening, Harold. I'm not treating you like a deadbeat. I'm treating you like a tenant who failed to meet their contractual obligations. The lease you signed clearly states that time is of the essence. Harold, I am your father. Leo VO. And I was your son when you told me I was a financial and emotional drain on your life. You told me you wanted to enjoy your retirement without worrying about my safety net. Consider this me honoring your wishes. I'm removing the safety net entirely. You have 72 hours to wire the funds, including the late fee. If the funds aren't in the Apex account by then, Marcus will file the unlawful detainer with the county court on Monday morning. Harold, breathing heavily, his hand gripping the phone so hard his knuckles turn white. You wouldn't dare, the publicity would ruin you. A tech founder evicting his own parents. The media will cannibalize your company. Leo VO. The media loves a self-made billionaire story, Dad. And when they find out I bought the house out of foreclosure to save my parents from the street and they couldn't even pay the basic market rent, they won't look at me as the villain. They'll look at you as an ungrateful, obsolete businessman who couldn't manage his own assets. The line goes completely dead. Harold slowly lowers the phone. He looks across the kitchen at Alina, who has covered her face with her hands, her shoulders shaking with silent, desperate sobs. The grand colonial house, once a symbol of their absolute victory over the world, now feels exactly like what it is. A trap designed by the one person they thought they could safely despise. The 72 hours evaporate like mist over a cold river. On Monday morning at exactly 9:00 a.m., the wire transfer from Harold's secondary credit line finally clears, hitting the Apex Holdings account with the rental payment and the $500 late fee. In his high-rise office, Leo doesn't even look at the confirmation notification. He simply swipes it off his screen. The point had already been made. The power dynamic had shifted permanently and both parties knew it. Over the next 4 months, a brutal routine establishes itself. On the first of every month, Harold pays the rent on time, his pride thoroughly broken. To afford it, he liquidates his remaining stock options, sells his luxury sedan for a mid-sized hybrid, and cuts his firm's staff down to a skeleton crew. The grand colonial house on Rolling Hills Drive remains immaculately kept, but it is no longer a home. It is a golden cage, and Leo is the keeper. Then the second quarter ends, and the final hammer falls on Vanguard Realty Partners. A humid, heavy July afternoon. Leo sits in the back of his town car as it idles at the curb of Rolling Hills Drive. He looks out the window at the sprawling lawn. It is uncharacteristically overgrown. The landscaping service has clearly been canceled. Marcus sits beside him, holding an open folder containing the morning's legal filings. MARCUS. It's over for Vanguard, Leo. The city pulled the tax incentives on the downtown development project. The primary lenders called in the entire balance of the construction loan this morning. Your father filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy restructuring an hour ago. Leo, what does that mean for his personal liquidity? MARCUS. It wiped him out completely. The personal guarantees he signed to secure the construction loan mean the bankruptcy court is going to look at everything he owns. Since the house is owned by Apex Holdings, it's safe from his creditors, but he has absolutely zero income to pay the rent next month. He is completely dry. Leo, stepping out of the car. Wait here. Leo walks up the stone path. The front door is unlocked. He steps inside the grand foyer where the air feels warm and stifling. The air conditioning has been turned off to save on electricity. He finds Harold and Alina in the living room. The room is half-packed. Cardboard boxes line the walls, filled with porcelain figurines, expensive art books, and family heirlooms. Harold is sitting on the edge of an upturned crate, his sleeves rolled up, his forehead slick with sweat. Alina is wrapping crystal glasses in newspaper, her hands shaking. They look defeated, stripped of the armor of their wealth. When Harold looks up and sees Leo standing in the doorway, he doesn't yell. He doesn't get angry. He just looks incredibly, profoundly tired. Harold, voice barely a whisper. We know Marcus must have told you. The firm is gone, Leo. I have nothing left to give you. Eleanor. Setting down a glass, her voice cracked and raw. We're packing, Leo. You don't have to send your lawyers or your couriers. We can't pay the rent on the first. We're leaving. We'll find a small apartment on the outskirts of the city. Just, please don't humiliate us anymore. Leo walks into the center of the room, looking around at the packed boxes. His eyes linger on a cardboard box labeled photos. Peeking out from the top is the framed picture from his childhood, the one of him holding the trophy while they looked at their phones. Leo, I'm not here to evict you. Harold laughs, a dry, bitter sound that rattles in his chest. Harold, then why are you here? To offer us charity? I know you better than that, son. You're a businessman. You don't harbor financial burdens. You made that perfectly clear. Leo, I am a businessman, and as a businessman I recognize a bad investment. Keeping this house vacant while looking for a new tenant in a down market is a bad investment. Leo pulls a fresh document from his pocket. It isn't an eviction notice. It's an amendment to the lease agreement. He sets it down on a cardboard box in front of his father. Leo, I'm lowering the rent to exactly match the Social Security and remaining pension distributions you have left. It will leave you with just enough for groceries and utilities. You won't have to move. You can stay in this house. Harold stares at the document, stunned. He looks up at Leo, his eyes wide with confusion. Harold, why, after everything, why would you do that for us? Leo, because I want you to stay right here. Leo's voice is quiet, but it carries a terrifying weight. He steps closer to his father, looking down at him. Leo, if you move to a small apartment in the city, you can pretend you're just a couple of retirees living a modest life. You can forget what happened. You can hide from your failure. But if you stay here in this massive, empty house, every single room will remind you of what you lost. He points to the high ceilings, the custom molding, the grand dining room down the hall. Leo, every time you walk through this foyer, you will remember that you don't own it. Every time the first of the month comes around, you will wire your entire livelihood to the son you called a burden just to keep from being thrown out on the street. I don't want you homeless, Dad. I want you to live in your own consequence. The silence that follows is absolute. The harsh reality of Leo's revenge settles over the room like a suffocating blanket. He hadn't bought the house to break them physically. He had bought it to keep them on display as a monument to their own arrogance. Alina covers her mouth, tears streaming down her face as she realizes the true depth of the trap they are in. Harold looks down at the lease amendment, his hand trembling as he picks up a pen from the box. He has no choice. The world outside is cold and their pride is already dead. Harold signs the line. 7 months after that fateful Thanksgiving dinner, the circle is complete. Leo walks out of the colonial house and down the stone steps for the last time. He doesn't feel anger anymore. The burning need to prove them wrong has finally gone out, replaced by the quiet, unyielding reality of his success. He climbs into the back of the town car and closes the door, shutting out the sound of the world. MARCUS. Where to now, Leo? Leo? Looking straight ahead. To the office, Marcus. We have a new acquisition to finalize. The car pulls away from the curb, leaving the grand colonial house behind in the rearview mirror. Inside, two tenants sit among the ghosts of their former wealth, finally understanding the true cost of the words they had so carelessly thrown away.